Okay, let's start off the second hour here with more fun than we should be allowed to have. Let's say that this is 20 inches, 12 inches, and 25 inches. Find the volume and the surface area. Give those a shot quick. For volume, there's two steps. One is find the area of the base. The base we're going to consider to be the bottom of this, which is 20 by 25, which is going to be 500 square inches. What is step 2? Take the area of that base times the height, which is 12 inches, which will give us 6,000 cubic inches. Any questions? How many of you had that? Okay. We ready to go on surface area? Or you need a minute? Okay, let's go with surface area. For surface area, we need the area of the base, which is 500 square inches. And we're going to put that in there twice because it is on bottom and also on top. So then we need the lateral area. To do the lateral area, we first must have the perimeter of the base. The perimeter of the base here is 20 plus 25 plus 20 plus 25, otherwise known as 90 inches. So my lateral area is the area of all those sides that connect the base, which is that perimeter of the base, 90 inches, times the height of 12 inches, which is what? 1,080? 2,080? Are you sure? I was going to say 1,080 inches squared. We add that all up to get a total surface area of 2,080 square inches. How many of you had that? A few. Do you have any questions so far? Is that it? So we have a sphere with a radius of 6 inches. Find the volume and the surface area. The volume is found by doing 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. What does that give you? 904.32 inches cubed. Does that sound right? That's what I'm getting, 904.32. For surface area, it's 4 times pi times the radius squared, which is going to be 452.16, correct? Anybody have both of those right? Oh, we're getting closer. Probably guessed it by now. Volume and surface area for this one. So for volume, as always, our first step is the area of the base. But on this one, the base is not on the bottom. The base is the triangle on the end. That is the only face of this figure that has the exact same shape on the opposite end. So that area, we have the 6 and the 8 do form right angles, so we can use those to find the area. So it's 6 inches times 8 inches divided by 2 is 24 square inches. So the volume is that area of the base, 24 square inches, times that length of 10 inches. Here is 240 inches cubed. How many of you had that? Good deal. Now for the surface area, we have the area of our base twice, because there are 2 of them. And now we have to do our lateral area. For the lateral area, we need the perimeter of the base. And to do that, we need to know this length here. Make this A, B, and C. This is 6 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. We figure that out, x comes out to be 10 inches. So the perimeter of my base is 6 plus 8 plus 10, which is 24 inches. Which makes my lateral area, the perimeter of the base, 24 inches, times my length of 10 inches, which is another 240 square inches. Adding the 2 bases and the lateral area up gives me a total surface area of 288 square inches. Anybody get both of those right? Down to 2 of you again. Any questions on that one? A little bit trickier because the base wasn't the bottom, is all. You guessed it, volume and surface area. So we start out, volume. First thing we find, as always, the area of the base. Now the base of this is a circle with a diameter of 8, so it's a radius of 4. So the area of the base is pi times 4 squared, or 50.24 square inches. So therefore my volume is at 50.24 square inches times the height of 10 inches for 502.4 inches cubed. Anybody have the volume correct? We're doing pretty well on that one. Good. For surface area, we have the area of the base. And we have it twice because there is one on top as well. For the lateral area, we need to find the perimeter of the base, which is going to be a circumference since the base is a circle. So that'll be pi times the diameter of 8 inches will give us 25.12 inches. So that our lateral area is 25.12 inches perimeter times the 10 inches of height, or 251.2 inches squared. Adding that all up gives us a total surface area of 351.68 inches squared. How many get that? Good deal. Any questions on that one? And once again, volume and surface area. For volume, as always, we start out with the area of the base. This is going to be pi times our radius squared. Now the diameter is 10, so the radius is 5 inches. So pi times 5 squared is 78.5 inches squared. Volume is the area of the base, 78.5, times the height of 12. But what do we have to do to adjust since this is a cone? Divide by 3, which gives us, what, 314 inches cubed, is that correct? So now when we go to our surface area, we have the area of the base, and we only have it once because there is no top side to this. There's only one base on this. For our lateral area, we need the perimeter of the base, which, again, this is a circle, so it's the circumference of the circle, which will be pi times 10 inches, or 31.4 inches. Since this surface does not go straight up and down, however, we cannot use the height. We have to have a slant. And to find that slant, we draw our 12 in here and our 5 in here, and that's a right angle. This slant is going to be found by the slant squared is 5 squared plus 12 squared. 5 squared plus 12 squared equals the slant squared, one of the two. Giving us that slant, if you figure it out, is 13 inches. So now my lateral area is the perimeter of the base, 31.4 inches, times the slant of 13 inches. Because that forms a triangle, it's divided by 2. $204.1 inches squared. So our total surface area, adding that up, is 282.6 inches squared. How many of you had that? A few of you. Okay, we're getting there. So we have a pyramid, 16 feet on a side at the base, 15 feet tall. Again, volume and surface area. First step in finding the volume is to do what? Area of the base. This is 16 feet by 16 feet. It's a square. So that's 256 square feet. And then volume times, or the area of the base, 256 square feet, times the height of 15 feet, divided by 3, which is going to be 1,280 cubic feet. So for surface area, we have the area of that base, which is 256. We also need to know the perimeter of the base, which is just going to be 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16, right? Just adding up all the way around. Adds up to 64 feet. The slant. We go up here, this is 15 feet. This is going to be 8 feet. We're looking for that. It's going to be 15 squared plus 8 squared equals our slant squared. Slant comes out to be 17 feet. So, a lateral area is the perimeter of the base, 64 feet times the slant, that's 17 feet, and it does form triangle, so it is divided by 2, which is, what, 544? Feet squared, which adds up to 800 square feet for total surface area. Any questions? How many of you had 800? How many of you want to go home and cry? Okay. Well, it's not too bad. Now, just to make sure that we know this is oriented right, I'm going to give you a couple of the angles. So we have two similar figures. I want you to find X, Y, and Z for me. So we start out, what's the pair of sides that we know in both figures? 25 and 10. Doesn't matter which one we put over which. 25 over 10. Let's find X first. Is X going to go top or bottom? X goes with the 10. Very good. So what's going to go above the X? It matches up with the 30, so 30 goes there. Cross multiply and divide gives us that X equals 12. Now we stick with our 25 over 10, looking for Y. Does Y go on top or bottom? Y is going to go on top because it's with the 25. What goes below the Y? 4. Very good. So now we cross multiply and divide. Notice we're cross multiplying the other direction. Divided by 10 gives us that Y equals 10. And for Z, we start out with 25 over 10. Where's our Z going to go? Top as well, because that's with the 25. What goes below the Z? 6. And cross multiplying and dividing gives us that Z is 15. How many had all three of those? Okay. Well, next. In this figure, the height goes from being 8 inches to being 16 inches. In this figure here, the surface area is 400 square inches. And the volume is 240 cubic inches. Over here, what's the surface area and the volume? So when we're dealing with a problem like this, we start out with the ratio of lengths. And our ratio of lengths here is 8 to 16, which reduces to 1 to 2. So when we look at areas, how do we find our ratio of area? We take our 1 to 2 and we square it. Very good. 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. So our ratio of areas is 1 to 4. So to find our surface area, we use that 1 to 4 ratio, along with the surface area of 400 square inches. We cross multiply and divide to get 1,600 square inches of surface area. How many of you had that? Then for volume, how do we find the ratio of volumes? We cube it. We take our 1 to 2 ratio of lengths and we cube it. 1 cubed is 1. 2 cubed is 8. So we have a 1 to 8 ratio of volumes. Using our 240 inches cubed, we will cross multiply and divide, which is going to give us, what, 1,840 inches cubed? Is that correct? No, not correct. 1920. How many of you had that? Okay. Well, we're getting closer. Graph those 3 equations. Okay, so for the first one up here, y equals a negative 2/3 x plus 3. Where do we start? Positive 3 right there. And from there, what do we do? Careful. Remember, it's rise over run. So it's down 2 over 3. Questions on that one? Anybody have that one? The next one, y equals 3/4 x minus 2. Where do we start? Negative 2. Very good. Right there. And from there, where do we go? Up 3 over 4. So there's our line there. How many of you had that one? Okay, moving along. This one here, of course, We have to do a little work on. What do we have to do first to it? We have to subtract. Perfect. We subtract 3x. Gives us 2y equals 6 minus 3x is just 6 minus 3x. And then divide by 2. Remember, when we divide, we have to do it to every piece. So we divide out the 2 there, gives us y. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And negative 3x divided by 2? Isn't it? Perfect. Negative 3 over 2 times x. So when we graph that, we start at 3. And from there we go down. Perfect. Down 3 over 2. Any questions? For this set of data, find mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. For the mean, what do we have to do? We add them up and we divide by 5. The reason we divide by 5 is because n equals 5, because there are 5 numbers there. So we add that up. 31, 44, 61, 75 is 15 when we divide by 5. Mean of 15. Any disagreements, questions? For the median, what's the first step? Put them in order, which I did not do for you this time. So I get them put in order. What's next? Well, we could number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. 0.5 times n. So since n is 5, it's 0.5 times 5 is 2.5. What's that tell us? It's the third position. Yes. If we get a decimal, we round up. The third number is 14 is our median. What's our mode? Perfect. There is none. There are no numbers that are repeated here, so there is no mode. Our range. Yeah, our largest minus our smallest. 24 minus 7 is 17. Standard deviation. What's our first step? Find the mean, which we already did to be 15. What is our second step? Subtract 15, subtract the mean from each. So we got 7, 13, 14, 17, and 24. We are going to subtract 15 from each. So negative 8, negative 2, negative 1, positive 2, and 9. Now again, if you wanted to double check, those should add up to 0 at this point. That's just a check to make sure we haven't screwed up early on. What's step 3? Square each. Good. Negative 8 squared is 64. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. 2 squared is 4. And 9 squared is 81. And then find the total. Find the sum. Which is what? What's that? 154. Works for me. Then what? Yes, so we're going to divide by 4 since n equals 5. N minus 1 equals 4. So we divide by 4, which is 38.5. Is that correct? And then square root. Perfect. Square root of 38.5 is 6.2. 6.20. If you're not told, usually you round 2 decimal places. Now, of course, there will be questions like we did at the beginning of class using the bell curve and those percents. I'm not going to review them because we did them to start off the class. And then there's going to be a question involving z-scores that we did to start off the class. Other things that we did not get a chance to review that may appear on the test. Making a bar graph or a histogram. Histogram and a bar graph are the same thing. The difference is on a bar graph, these items down here would be categories like favorite color, so it might be red, green, blue, whatever. In a histogram, it might be number ranges, so it might be like 30 to 40, 41 to 50, and so on, like that. Then, of course, you got a number up the side and draw on your bars. Might be asked to make a circle graph. To make a circle graph, you find what percent each of them is. So if I have 7, 11, and 2, I'm just going to call this A, B, and C. What I have to do is I have to find my total, which is 20. Then I find what percent each of those is. 7 out of 20 is 0.35 or 35%. 11 out of 20 is 0.55 or 55%. And 2 out of 20 is 0.1 or 10%. So 55% is slightly more than half. So that's going to be B. 35% is actually quite a bit more than a quarter. So that'll be A, and that remaining piece is C. We made a quick circle graph. But you do have to make sure you convert them to percents. Other things we discussed are picture graphs. Now, I also expressed my displeasure with picture graphs, which means I may not put them on a test. Also, they're really tricky to draw. There were other graphs that we learned about. Line graphs. Remember, in line graphs, you might put time on the bottom, like if we were tracking the temperature. You might put, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and put dots for the temperature. Like that. Any questions? I believe it came out to 40. Maybe 50. One of the two. Depending on what my mood was when I wrote this one. I don't have the copy of the actual test in front of me right now. Any other questions? You do get the whole class period tomorrow. There is no lecture after the test tomorrow, so you get all 2 hours and 40 minutes. And yes, you can come in early to start if you want to. I should be in here by 8:30. Other locations, they've got your tests, so whenever you get there, whenever there are people there in the ITV office, you should be able to start. Anything else?